It's the beginning of a new era in Ball State football and a new show on hand in the Betsy M. Ross SportsLink studios. It's the Cardinal Kickoff. I'm Roen Elbert. That's Max Gillie. Max, I'm really excited for this season. I don't know about you, but it's going to be a fun year of Ball State football.
You can feel it in the air. It's football season. It's so very exciting. And the best part is it's a brand new era, which is going to make it even more fun.
A new era indeed. When you bring in a new head coach anytime, it really signifies that this is the beginning of a new chapter in the program, but especially here with the Cardinals and really the Boilermakers of Purdue when we get to them further on. Let's talk about Ball State head coach Mike Uremovich. His background includes stops at Temple, Northern Illinois, and most recently Butler. Was there for the past 3 seasons, a winning record all 3 seasons. The expectations are high for Coach Uremovich. I'm sure he feels it.
I mean, the reason why he was brought in, it was because he knows how to turn around these programs. He turned around the Butler program, helped them get to be winning. That's exactly what Ball State is looking for. So, I mean, I think that he's going to be a great hire. He's going to be doing a great leader. And the players, they seem to really have bought in to his coaching style. It is a little different than the previous coaching staff, and it seems to be working so far in the offseason. We'll have to see what happens once they hit the field.
The thing I really like about Coach Uremovich is the familiarity with not just the MAC, because, I mean, he has a lot of experience at Northern Illinois. He was an offensive coordinator there. But also just with the state of Indiana as a whole. He got his start in coaching at McCutcheon High School in the late 90s as a special teams coordinator. Obviously, most recently at Butler University. Had a great deal of success in the Pioneer League of FCS. And now looking to do it in FBS with the Cardinals.
And, I mean, since he comes from that Indiana background, that's one of the reasons why he's trying to recruit these Indiana kids and these Midwest kids. Because, hey, that's what he was born into. He knows what it's like to be competitive in the state of Indiana. And, listen, when you're here at an institution like Ball State University, you'd love to be able to get those top Indiana prospects. That's a goal in the future. But for now, he wants to take some of those same ideas and principles of, hey, hard work is going to lead to those results. And that's what he looks to bring to this Ball State team.
I think that's the perfect Midwest culture, the hard work with the results of what we'll hopefully see on the field from the Cardinals. For more on that, we had an interview with head coach Mike Uremovich. Here with Ball State head coach Mike Uremovich. Now, coach, this is a big week for you, obviously, your debut. What's been the preview like for Purdue this week?
It's been good to finally get into a game plan with our guys. You know, training camp, you're studying so much, you're putting in the whole offense, the whole defense, and all the schemes. But when you get into a game plan, you can shrink it way down. So I know our guys have enjoyed the last few days being able to focus on what we're going to call on defense, what we're going to call on offense, special teams adjustments we're going to make. So it's been fun to get into a game plan.
And Purdue's a different team in a way of kind of like Ball State, new look team, new head coach, a lot of new faces. How different does that make it to prepare for that team?
The first game of the year is always kind of different because they're going to have new players, and now with the portal, you don't know how many, they're going to have a ton of new players. And coaches, even if it was a returning staff, they would be adjusting their schemes based on the people they have in their locker room. But them being new does make it challenging, and they're going to have to figure out what we're doing too in the first quarter because we're new. So there'll be some more adjustments in this game than there probably would be later on in the year when you've got some film on people.
And finally, Coach, what can the fans expect from this season watching the first game?
They're going to have fun watching our guys play, man. They're going to be physical, they're going to be disciplined, and they're going to have fun playing the game of football. And we're going to be a fun team to watch this year, and we got to keep getting better every week. That's, good football teams improve from week to week to week, and we got to focus on going out and playing as well as we can Saturday and then continuing to improve.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Great stuff from Coach Uremovich right there. And that really stood out to me, talking about just how difficult it is to prepare, well, for any team week one, but especially Purdue. They have 84 new faces.
I mean, the big thing is it really feels like you have two teams with a very similar story where everything looks completely different. And yes, I know that's what this modern era of college athletics and college football is like, but really it isn't often where you have a matchup where, hey, you have two teams that are just starting their rebuild. So I would not want to have to be in charge of having to try and figure out what the heck's going to happen, because you truly don't know with all those new faces for Purdue as well as Ball State.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are going to try and predict this matchup. A lot of people think they know what's going to happen, but I don't think truly anybody really knows.
And that's why this is such a fun start to the college football season. Usually when you have these, we can call them the buy-in games, where you play these Power 4 opponents. It's always the storyline is this, where it's, can Ball State get the upset, or will this team who they are playing, start the season off right? Whereas for both Ball State and Purdue, they're just looking to turn their programs around. So I think regardless of what happens for Ball State, obviously the Cardinals would like to win, but regardless, they just want to change the culture, and they want to start getting back to some of those winning ways all the way back a few decades ago.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this matchup between the Cardinals and the Boilermakers is a lot of new faces on both sides, but at the same time, the quarterback position, there's a lot of familiarity there. For the Cardinals, you have Kyle Kelly, who was a mainstay in 2023 as a starter. Last year, the Cardinals experimented with him at different positions. At Purdue, you got Ryan Brown, had a pair of starts last season, enters the transfer portal, has a semester at North Carolina over at Chapel Hill. Now he's back with the Boilermakers, so a lot of familiarity at that position in a season for both teams that has a lot of uncertainty.
And I mean, just the big thing with both of these quarterbacks is they had the opportunity to leave, but they still wanted to come back. They wanted to try this, and they had to still fight their way back in. And none of these quarterback positions were handed off. We know there was a lot of competition for Purdue as well as Ball State. I mean, yes, Kyle Kelly's the quarterback who has the most experience, but we got to remember last season it was the experiment, and it didn't have maybe the success that Kyle may have wanted, but now he's back, and we're going to see hopefully a different Kyle where he's had a new system, and maybe he'll thrive in this one.
Yeah, and that's why I think him and Uremovich are the perfect pair. Like, let's go back to 2023, the last time that Kyle Kelly was a full-time starting quarterback. He had more rushing yards than he did passing yards. I wouldn't say that's a good or a bad thing at all. Look at Butler. Their leading rusher last season in Mike Uremovich's system was their quarterback. It goes to show you that I think these two are a perfect pair.
And that is exactly what you want to have to start this year. And I'm also just interested to see what's going to happen, meanwhile, on the Purdue side where, hey, this kid can run, but he also can throw. And it's just going to be really interesting to see how different it's going to be with now a new head coach at Purdue.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that new head coach in Barry Odom. This is a guy with a lot of experience at all different kinds of levels in college football, notably at the University of Missouri from 2016 to 2019. We're over there at Missouri, had a pair of bowl game appearances, but after a 6-6 season back in 2019, he was let go. Had a pair of seasons with the Arkansas Razorbacks as a defensive coordinator. Ended up going back to head coaching at UNLV in the Mountain West Conference. And boy, oh boy, did he do some big things there. Last season, a 10-3 record ended up being the winningest season in UNLV history in the past 40 years. Purdue, they're getting a guy with a lot of success in the last couple of years.
And that's exactly what you want to have. And one of the things I noticed as well, you just talk about it, all of those coaching stops, he wasn't just a head coach at all of them. He's experienced all the positions of coaching, it feels like. Same thing can be said with Coach Uremovich. He hasn't always been a head coach, and I think that really helps them specifically when it comes to building their staff, because he knows what it's like to be on the sidelines not as a head coach. He knows what to expect, and that really helps them decide to build their staff in a certain way. And I know for Coach Uremovich specifically, he talked about he's coached with all of these guys before in his various stops, whether it was at NIU, NC State, now here at Ball State or Butler. So you have that familiarity. That's exactly what you want to have with your coaching staff. And that is when you have a season where there's so many unknowns and a whole lot of changes, if you can have familiarity in a certain way, that's what you want to have. And we talked about it on the Ball State side and on the Purdue side as well. That's the same goal, is to just have some familiarity, to start trying to change the narrative around your team.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult task for both coaches. I mean, with Barry Odom, you got 84 new faces. I'm sure, I mean, yes, he had 7 UNLV players that came along for the ride here at Purdue. And with Coach Uremovich as well, taking on a whole new system, whole new players, including a new quarterback in Kyle Kelly that you haven't worked with. I mean, it has to be such a weird situation for both coaches. Both of these teams last season didn't quite go their way, especially on Purdue's end. 1-11. You let go of head coach Ryan Walters. For the Cardinals, again, not bowl eligible, was not a great season on their end, led to the coaching change on both sides. But now, both teams, they still have returners. We talk about new faces. They still have returners. I'm sure the few returners on Purdue's end and for the Cardinals, the returners on their end, both of these teams and the returners they have to have a chip on their shoulder after last year.
Oh, 100%. I mean, these are two teams that they've seen the preseason rankings where their teams may not have been ranked as high. They saw the rankings at the end of the year where Purdue and Ball State were kind of at the end. You don't want that to be your legacy. And for some of these guys, hey, if it's towards the end of the career, there is no better way to end your career than with a winning record. And that's going to be the goal for these teams, because you're not going to consistently go out there week after week just not giving a lot of effort and just being okay with a 1-11 or a 3-9 season. So these teams, they have felt the bottom. Now they want to try and at least reach bowl eligibility, or in the very least just try and change the culture and get a few more wins.
And speaking of guys who maybe are on their last ride right now, Ball State has one of those in Joey Stemler, a guy who's been a big part of the Cardinals' defense, their linebacking core, a star on that defense. We were able to catch up with him earlier today. Here with Ball State linebacker Joey Stemler. Joey, it's your senior season. What does this mean to you?
It means a lot. I've been here for, it's my 5th year now, and I've given a lot to this program. I just, I want to go out there and just give it my all, and just fly around and really just have fun with it. If I don't have fun with it, I'm not gonna get out what I want, and just go out and show what we can do, and show the whole world what we can do on Saturday.
What was your off-season work looking like this off-season?
Oh, we were really getting after it. Everybody put on more weight. We got stronger. We got faster. Guys grew on a personal level outside of the program as well. And honestly, we're just better as a whole entire team, bonding that way. And I'm very excited to see that all of that hard work that we've done pay off on these Saturdays.
Yeah, what are some of the things this team does to bond over the off season?
Really just getting out of the facility. Guys play golf together. Guys go hang out and watch football games, sporting events together. Maybe on a weekend go out and go to different people's houses and stuff like that. I mean, even where they're from, learn about them. Even just a 10-minute simple conversation, eating some lunch and stuff like that. Really just you can grow that way. Even if you don't really think about it. But we've done that. Coach Hugh's really done a great job of trying to get us to get out of our comfort zone and learn new people that way. And it's really, really worked.
And finally, 5 seasons in.
Yeah.
What's different about this team from any other team you played on?
Just a lot of energy. We brought a bunch of new transfers in and great guys, who love football, and everybody here really wants to win. They've shown that they can do it, and I'm just very excited to play with them, have fun with them, and just fly around.
All right, thank you, Joey.
Yeah, thank you.
Great stuff from Joey Stemler, really showing that this team, I mean, he's been a part of some great Cardinal teams. This team is different.
That is exactly what the Cardinal fans are going to want to hear. And, hey, you heard it from the man himself. That's exactly what you want to do. But as we've said before, you just got to show it on the field now.
But looking at Ball State now, I mean, if we're just going to face facts here, the last time this team beat a Power 4 or Power 5 team, you have to go back to 2013 against Virginia. And also just throughout the early 2010s, the 2000s, that's where the Cardinals probably had their most success against Power 4, Power 5 teams.
Oh, 100%. I mean, obviously, fans will remember that Virginia game just because it was 48-27. It wasn't close at all, but you look back in the early to late 2000s, you had the matchups against IU where the Cardinals, they were able to get 3 wins in Bloomington, and the Cardinals, they would love to get to do that against Bloomington's rival in West Lafayette, Purdue University.
And how about that wild 2012 matchup, that 41-39 win, a nail biter, and to have back-to-back seasons beating a Power 4, Power 5 conference, the Cardinals maybe looking to replicate some of that magic in week 1 of the season.
It would definitely be a great way to start the year. And I mean, it has happened across the MAC. I've seen some stats where, at least one MAC team has defeated a Big Ten school in I think it was 15 of the last 17 or something like that. But just as a MAC, everyone wants to fly the flag, and there's no better way to start flying the flag this season for Ball State than by getting that win against Purdue.
And it kind of seems like the golden opportunity. Again, we don't know. We know probably just as much as anyone else does about how this matchup will fare. I mean, look at the Cardinals, 34 transfers that came in this year. For Purdue, 28 transfers that came in. All in all, 84 new faces. It's just, there's so much uncertainty, which makes kind of that chaos factor that much more important.
Well, we can call it chaos. We can call it sickos. Either way, if you want to watch an entertaining matchup where you really don't know what's going to happen, there's no better way in week 1 to watch than this Ball State-Purdue game.
And for more on that, we have the broadcasters who will be taking you the whole way through this Saturday on SportsLink Digital Radio on YouTube and X. Brayden Carroll and Sam Neiger joined us for a studio interview. Welcome back to Cardinal Kickoff. I'm here with Sam Neiger and Brayden Carroll. Both of you will be calling this Saturday's game against Purdue. It has to be a little bit difficult, though, just with the lack of information out in Purdue. How have you guys prepared for this game?
BC, I'll let you take this first.
I mean, here's the thing. You're talking about 2 first-year head coaches who both aren't really decided on what their 2 deep is going to look like. So that's something that we've seen in the press conferences. Both coaches are not too keen on sharing the information before kickoff, but it's not something that's unexpected from 2 coaches that are just now getting into their program. You talk about a guy like Barry Odom, who's coming from across the country, and then a guy like Coach U, who's coming from the FCS to FBS level. They have a lot to figure out, so it's not something that is a hurdle that we can't overcome because we saw it coming.
Yeah, I'd be a little more concerned last year if we didn't have a 2 deep at this point because we had established regimes, specifically from a Ball State perspective. There were still some unanswered questions heading into that first game for Ball State last season, but all things considered, they still released that 2 deep just so that we knew who was going to be playing. I understand with Coach U. He wants to keep things under wraps. We at least know that Kyle Kelly is going to be our starting quarterback. That was one of the big question marks entering training camp. He's been taking a lot of the reps with that first team. It's just those pieces around him. Where do they fit in? How many receivers get how many reps? That type of thing. It's not like we're going to see some names that we're not expecting. It's just how much reps are certain names going to get, specifically in those skill positions.
Yeah, but one thing we do know for both sides, like you mentioned, we know the quarterback situation. The Ball State Cardinals with Kyle Kelly, the Purdue Boilermakers with Ryan Brown, 2 familiar faces to both of those programs. What are the kind of the similarities and the differences of both of these quarterbacks?
I think from an athleticism standpoint, obviously Kyle Kelly's athleticism jumps off the page at you. We sit down and we start prepping for these games, and I'm reading through Kyle Kelly's bio. Obviously, we're familiar with Kelly, but just the way that the program talks about him, the way that they think about him. It says in his bio that he's one of the most dynamic athletes in college football. And to be honest with you, regardless of arm strength and football IQ, yes, he is one of the most dominant athletes in college football. He lined up on both sides of the ball last year. He lined up as a running back. He lined up as a receiver. He lined up as a defensive back. He was done at the quarterback position at the start of last season. He was going to be just a defensive back. Now he's back under center. He's going to be directing traffic. So that's obviously something that jumps off the page at you. In terms of Purdue with Brown, he is definitely more of a read the field, traditional quarterback guy. He's not afraid to use his legs, but that's not going to be his first option. I'm not going to lie to you. I actually think Brown could be one of the bright spots on that offense. There is less talent around him compared to the rest of the Big Ten in terms of skill positions. Some videos have come out of Purdue camp of some bad drops that we've seen. It's not that Brown isn't putting it where his guys can get it. I expect him to put it where his guys can get it on Saturday, but it's just whether or not those pieces around him are going to be able to elevate him or whether he's going to be able to elevate them.
And he definitely has that field general type of position because he has great wide receiver depth around him. He also has Devin Mockabee, who's one of the most dynamic running backs in the Big Ten, arguably in the country with the amount of seasons that he has under his belt right now. And then for Kyle Kelly, we don't really know what the offense is going to look like with the amount of transfers that have come in, but we know that Ty Robinson's going to be there. Keon Magwood's going to be there. Some great options when he's going to be slinging the football. And then you also look at Quay Ashley, the running back coming in from Kennesaw State. He's a guy who at KSU ran the triple option, and we know Kyle Kelly has the running ability. So while Kyle isn't really in a field general position, he has the entire offense in his grasp, and he can throw the ball, but he can most certainly run the ball. And I would love to see the different kind of gadget plays that will be in this offensive arsenal with the amount of talent around him.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to see the Kyle Kelly and Mike Uremovich kind of fit together just because of the history of Uremovich with mobile quarterbacks. It kind of seems to be his lingo to have these kind of quarterbacks in his system.
And he trusts him. Like, that was one of the big things heading into camp. How is Mike Uremovich going to set the tone with this team? Well, one easy way to do that early is decide who your quarterback is, give them the keys, let him take over. Coach Uremovich gave Kyle Kelly the keys. He's had all the reps he supposedly needs for game one. He only threw 4 passes last year, 2 for 4. His QBR was 56 or right around there last year. Like, there's not a lot on paper about this guy. But if Coach U trusts him, the rest of the team is going to trust him as well, and I certainly think that builds culture, and that's something that Ball State sorely needed last season that's going to help them, I think, grow this year.
And that trust comes from hunger, too. What I really like about Coach U is that he's coming from Butler. He's coming from a Pioneer League program, a non-scholarship program at the D1 level, and he was able to turn it around. That kind of school is just surrounded with guys who are hungry to go out there and play football. I love the FCS because you have the Pioneer League and you have the Ivy League full of guys who just they want to strap up and they want to play. That's all that they want to do. It's not about the money for those guys. And then you look at Kyle Kelly, a guy who's had to sit as QB2, QB3 last year, not even slated as a quarterback throughout his career. And now he's getting that starting role. It seems to be secured for him. So he has to be feeling the drive and the hunger to go out there and prove everybody what he means to this team and what he can do with his arm and his legs. Coach U has to love that because that's something that he's seen throughout his entire career, guys that just want it.
But let's just face facts, guys. The Cardinals are underdogs, you could say, in this matchup against Purdue. What's it going to take for Ball State to shock the world in week 1?
I think it's going to take the ability to not get behind the sticks. You want this team to be in third and short situations. You don't want to see a third and medium for this team because it's going to be a challenge. Kyle Kelly, he's improved his arm strength, but we've seen situations where when he's forced to roll out throughout his career, throwing isn't really the option for him. That throw on the run is a difficulty throughout his abilities, but I mean, if he can find himself in third and short, that's when those gadget plays come into play. That's when you can give it to Quay Ashley, maybe a power sweep, and let him just run to the edge, get to the sticks. And if they can control themselves on defense, really see the field out, I mean, we know that the linebacker room is just slated with guys who can get the job done from Stemler to Beebe. I would love to see them run that zone and get into Brown's head, force him to throw down the middle of the field, and just hope that the linebackers won't be in position. But we know that this room can really get the job done. Coach U has talked about it. The linebackers are the leaders of this defense, and if they can show up, if they can bring the rush, or if they can drop into zone and get the job done, it's going to be a challenge for Purdue.
I totally agree. I think it's pretty well defined at this point that we think we're going to see some quarterback pressure. Ball State's offensive line has some question marks. Ball State's defense, their front seven, they have the ability to rush the quarterback at a high level. So both these quarterbacks are going to be under pressure. To me, it comes down to the run game. Those are two bright spots on two offenses that have a lot of question marks. Ashley specifically for Ball State If he's able to get free, if he's able to get to the edge, if they do work in some of those gadget plays where Ashley gets the ball, he's got the explosiveness, especially out of the triple option, to do some real damage. If Purdue's defense is able to stop it, no harm, no foul. They'll get the job done. But to me, it comes down to which team is able to execute the run better, set up those third and shorts, and then from there, let the rest of the offense do the rest of the work. But I think the run game, establishing the run early, is going to be one of the big things for Ball State if they want to come away with a victory at Purdue here in just a couple of days.
And you can listen to Brayden and Sam this Saturday on the Ball State Sports Link YouTube and Twitter account. And for Brayden, Sam, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rowan. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great stuff from Brayden and Sam. Max, this is a big game, obviously, for both programs to kind of set a precedent in a new era. Do you think the pressure is kind of getting to them? Maybe not just getting to them, but do you think they feel the pressure?
I think they feel the pressure for sure because it's week one. You don't want to start the season off losing, and for Ball State specifically, you want to head into Auburn the very next weekend with positive momentum. So you want to have a win, sure. In the very least, I think if they can have a close matchup against Purdue, I think they're going to feel a whole lot better heading into Auburn than if it's not close.
And for the Cardinals, you got Auburn the next week, and then finally back home at Schumann against New Hampshire. A lot to be excited about. But before we get to New Hampshire, before we can celebrate at home, two really tough matchups on the road.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And the big thing about the game against Auburn as well, it's a night game. There's nothing like having Saturday night under the bright lights. That's going to be a whole lot of fun, I know, for both players. Ball State, yes, they may be the opponents. You're going to feel that atmosphere, though, and there's something special about those night games. And there's going to be something special in West Lafayette and hopefully here in Muncie, Indiana as well.
We certainly anticipate that it's going to be a fun season. New era, new show. I'm Roen Elbert. That's Max Gillie. Thank you for joining us for episode 1 of Cardinal Kickoff. We'll be with you next week.